Have you ever wondered what really happens when you stop putting in the effort? When you stop chasing, stop calling, and just walk away? Let me tell you, it's a game changer. The moment you pull back, the silence you leave behind speaks volumes. It's not just an absence. It's a powerful shift that forces her to face a reality she never saw coming. Suddenly, she's left with nothing but her own thoughts, and the dynamic between you both is completely turned upside down. But what happens after that shift? Well, that's what we're about to explore in this video. You won't want to miss the surprising twist that follows. Stay tuned. 1. The subtle shift that alters everything. Most men don't realize this, but the moment you walk away, something shifts deep inside her. It's not a dramatic change, but a quiet, slow transformation that grows with time. At first, she doesn't feel anything, nothing at all. In fact, there might be a sense of relief. Finally, some breathing room, she thinks. He'll text me again soon. I knew he wouldn't actually leave. In her mind, she still has control. She's used to this cycle where she pulls away and you, like clockwork, chase after her. She's in the driver's seat, always confident that no matter what happens, you'll come back. But then, time passes. A day, a few days, maybe even a week. She checks her phone. Silence. She waits for your message, but it doesn't come. You haven't texted. You haven't called. That's when the first crack of doubt appears. Where is he? The uncertainty creeps in slowly at first. She tries to brush it off. He's probably just being stubborn, she thinks. He'll come around. I know it. But then another day passes, and another. She scrolls through her messages, hoping to see your name pop up. She checks her social media posts, noticing that you haven't liked anything, haven't even watched her stories. And that's when the thought hits her for the first time. What if he's actually moved on? The silence that once felt like a temporary absence now starts to feel heavy, filled with unknowns. And this is the turning point. The doubt begins to spiral, and with it, a shift begins to take place within her emotions. She can't quite explain it, but something has changed. She's not as certain as she once was. The power she thought she had is starting to slip away. She starts to wonder if you're no longer waiting around. The game has changed. And it's in this moment of uncertainty that her feelings begin to transform, sometimes in ways she never expected. The silence is no longer just silence. It's a powerful, emotional force that makes her question everything. 2. The psychological trigger that pulls her back. One of the most powerful aspects of walking away is that it taps into a deep psychological trigger, a force most women don't even realize is at play. You see, women crave certainty. They need to know where they stand, what to expect, and how to navigate the relationship. Before, she knew exactly where she stood with you. You were always there. You always responded to her messages. You made sure she felt special, important, and validated. But now, everything has changed. The moment you pull away, you disrupt that certainty. And when certainty slips away, her mind starts to spin. Why hasn't he texted me? What's going on? Did I push him too far? Am I losing him? At first, it starts as mere curiosity. She doesn't feel the loss right away. It's more like a nagging sense of wondering. But this subtle sense of uncertainty quickly morphs into a deep need for answers. She might begin to check your social media more frequently. Maybe she's looking for clues, watching your posts more closely, or checking if you've been online lately. She might even go as far as monitoring your last seen status, hoping to catch a glimpse of your activity. But here's the kicker. The more she sees that you haven't reached out, the more her mind starts to spiral. It's not just curiosity anymore. It's panic. The fear of losing you, of not having a grip on the situation, starts to take over. What happens next is almost automatic. She starts chasing, but she won't even recognize it at first. Maybe she casually mentions you to a friend, reminiscing about the good times you shared. Or maybe she finds herself scrolling through old photos, wishing for a sense of connection. Deep inside, there's a shift. The man she once thought she could predict and control is now an enigma, a mystery. And that uncertainty? It's the key to shifting her perception of you. It makes her realize that she no longer has the same hold over you, and that sudden loss of control is what sparks her to start valuing you differently. 3. The emotional regret phase. Hits hard. In the beginning, she'll act like she's fine. She might post a picture on social media, sharing an image of her living her best life, just to show the world and maybe herself that she's unaffected. But deep down, the loss is hitting her in ways she's not yet ready to admit. And here's something most men don't realize. Women don't experience regret right away. It comes in waves. It unfolds in stages that gradually chip away at her defenses. At first, she'll feel indifferent. She'll convince herself that you'll come back. He's probably just taking a break, she tells herself. The silence doesn't faze her. She's confident you'll reach out when you're ready. But as time passes, uncertainty creeps in. She starts checking her phone more often, waiting, hoping for your name to appear in her messages. She doesn't want to admit it, but she's beginning to doubt her assumptions. Then comes the regret. It doesn't hit her like a wave at first. It's more like a slow realization. She starts replaying old conversations in her head, wondering if she made a mistake, questioning if she pushed you too far. The more she thinks about it, the more she feels that nagging sense of what if. It's not just curiosity anymore, it's longing. She starts missing not just the relationship, but the way you made her feel, the way you supported her when she needed it, the way you made her laugh when she was having a bad day. And that's when the shift occurs. She's not just thinking about you anymore. She's feeling your absence deeply. At this point, she might tell herself it's just a phase. Maybe she'll distract herself with new people, hobbies, or even swipe through dating apps in search of something to fill the gap. But nothing compares to what she had with you. Nothing feels the same. And that's when the true weight of the situation hits her. She took you for granted. She never fully appreciated what you brought to her life until it was gone. And now that absence is painfully clear, and it's changing the way she sees you and herself. 4. How ignoring her increases your value. Here's where most men go wrong. They notice that she's starting to miss them, and they immediately rush back in to fill the silence. Big mistake. The moment she senses that you're anxiously waiting for her to come around, she'll lose interest again. Why? Because the mystery disappears. The magic is gone. When you ignore a woman, you're actually creating an essential space for desire to grow. As time passes, she starts to reflect on the good times you shared. She starts to wonder if maybe, just maybe, she made a mistake in letting you go. Instead of simply knowing you're always there, she begins to feel your absence. And that feeling, it's powerful. The longer you stay silent, the stronger that sense of loss becomes, and the more she starts to value your presence. But here's where most men fail. They break the silence too soon. They think that sending a message or reaching out will fix everything, but they don't realize that by doing so, they rob themselves of the opportunity to let the full impact of the absence take hold. The moment you break that silence before she's felt the full weight of your absence, the power shifts back to her. She's back in control, and you've lost the upper hand. That's why men who stay disciplined, patient, and, most importantly, silent, hold all the cards. The more time that passes, the more valuable you become in her mind. She'll start to realize that you weren't just an option. You were a man who knew his worth, a man who had boundaries and didn't chase after anyone. And a man who knows his worth? He's irreplaceable in her eyes. 5. The unexpected moment she comes back. Here's the part most men don't expect, the moment she finally reaches out to you. It's subtle at first. It might be a casual hey that seems innocent enough, or maybe she likes one of your posts out of nowhere. It could even be a random comment, something that seems like a minor gesture. But trust me, don't be fooled. This isn't a coincidence. This is her testing the waters, cautiously dipping her toes into the unknown. She wants to see if you'll react. She's wondering if she still has power over you. She's hoping that by reaching out, she'll feel like she's back in control again. And here's the trap most men fall into. They respond too quickly, desperate to feel like things are back to normal. But by doing that, they let her win. The key to changing the dynamic lies in your response, or lack of one. Stay calm, stay collected, and don't rush to fill the silence. Let her make the effort. If you let her come to you, gradually putting in the work to earn back your attention, that's when the real shift happens. Because now, she's the one who has to prove she's worth your time, and that is where the power flips in your favor. When you stay grounded and don't jump to respond immediately, she begins to realize that you've changed. The tables have turned, and now she's the one chasing after you. That's when you know the dynamic has completely shifted, when she's working to earn your attention and you're no longer chasing after her. That's when the game is truly in your hands. 6. The fear of replacement kicks. There's an undeniable power in the fear of being replaced. It's one of the most triggering emotions a woman can experience, and what's even more impactful is that it doesn't strike immediately. It builds up slowly, like a pressure that she doesn't even realize is mounting until it's almost unbearable. At first, when you walk away, she assumes you're simply playing a game, maybe just a temporary reaction, a move to grab her attention. She tells herself, he'll come back when he gets bored. He's just testing me. He still wants me. In her mind, she still has control over the situation. She believes that no matter what, you'll come back, because that's always been the pattern. She feels secure in the idea that you'll be waiting for her, just as you always have. But then, the days turn into weeks, and reality starts to sink in. She realizes that you haven't reached out. She notices you're not watching her stories, not liking her posts, not reacting to anything she's doing anymore, and that's when the fear starts to creep in, subtle but powerful. What if he's talking to someone else? What if he's already moved on? What if I was just another option to him, nothing more? These thoughts begin to swirl in her mind, triggering anxiety she's never felt before. The fear of being replaced hits her in ways she didn't anticipate, and her ego takes a real hit. She always believed she had time. She always assumed you would be there, waiting around in the background, available whenever she decided she needed you. But now that certainty is gone, and she's left with the same uncertainty and anxiety that you once felt when she was pulling away. For the first time, she's not just thinking about missing you, she's terrified of losing you for good. That fear, that sense of panic, is what turns everything around. Because now, it's not just about whether she wants you back, it's about whether she can keep you at all. And this is the emotional turning point, the moment she realizes that she's not the one with all the control anymore. She's the one who has something to lose. 7. How absence triggers her emotional bonding. Most men believe that women bond through time spent together, shared experiences, and deep, meaningful conversations. And while these things certainly play a role, there's a powerful aspect that many men overlook. A woman often bonds more deeply through absence than through presence. When you're always there, always available, always chasing after her, She doesn't have to wonder about you. She doesn't need to question how you feel because you're constantly reassuring her. She doesn't have to put in the effort because you're doing all the work for her. The relationship feels predictable, and in many ways, it feels safe. But here's where the real shift happens. The moment you pull away, the moment she stops hearing from you, that's when her emotional connection to you starts to deepen. Why? Because now she's no longer being fed constant validation. Now she has to go searching for it. She has to wonder, does he still think about me? Does he still care? And her brain starts to associate you with uncertainty, mystery, and most importantly, desire. Those feelings of longing and curiosity are what ignite her emotions and trigger a deeper connection. She starts to replay memories in her mind. The way you looked at her, the way you made her laugh, how you made her feel safe and valued in a world that sometimes feels chaotic. Suddenly, those moments she once took for granted become special because they're no longer in her reach. And this shift in perspective is key. What once felt ordinary now feels extraordinary because she realizes it's no longer something she can rely on, at least not in the same way. That's the truth that most men don't understand. It's not about what you do when you're there, constantly proving your worth through actions. It's about what she feels when you're not there. When the silence lingers and she begins to miss you, crave you, and desire you on a deeper emotional level. That's when true emotional bonding happens. 8. The difference between missing you and wanting you. This is where most men go completely off track. They believe that if a woman misses them, it automatically means she wants them back. But that's not how it works. Missing you doesn't always equate to wanting you. A woman can miss the attention you gave her, the way you made her feel special, but that doesn't necessarily mean she's ready to commit to a relationship again. She can long for the way you made her feel seen and valued, but that doesn't automatically mean she's willing to make the same emotional investment. And this is where the real danger lies. If you rush back too quickly, you risk undoing all the progress you've made. Missing you isn't enough to make her truly want you back. She has to feel the full weight of the consequences of losing you. If she misses your presence but you instantly respond, she'll know she still has control over the situation. If she throws out a little bait, a small text, or a casual reach out, and you bite, she'll realize that you haven't truly moved on. You've just reaffirmed to her that you're still an option, and that's when the chase ends. This is why high-value men don't simply make a woman miss them. They make her work for their attention again. They don't rush back in, and they don't let her off the hook too easily. And when she starts chasing, when she starts putting in the effort to win you back, that's when you know you've turned the tables in your favor. Because now it's not just about her missing your attention, it's about her regretting losing you. That shift in her emotions from longing to regret is the turning point. That's when her desire changes from just missing you to genuinely wanting you back. And that's when the power dynamic shifts for good. 9. Why time works in your favor. This is where most men get it wrong. They assume that if she hasn't reached out, she must not care, and that's where the panic sets in. They break no contact too soon, they act impulsively, and they end up sabotaging everything. But high-value men understand something crucial. Time is your greatest weapon. The longer you stay away, the stronger your position becomes. Think about it. Every extra day without hearing from you only makes her want to reach out more. The more time passes, the more she starts craving your attention, questioning why you haven't come after her. That absence makes her feel a sense of mystery, and with it, a growing uncertainty. The longer she's in the dark, the more she starts doubting her own choices, asking herself if she made the right decision in letting you go. That internal questioning, it's the start of obsession. It's what fuels her mind and keeps you present in her thoughts. Most men make themselves too easy to figure out. They wear their emotions on their sleeves. They react quickly. They rush to break the silence, and they don't give her the time to process. But when you walk away and stay gone, the effect is completely different. She starts to wonder, did I ever really have him in the first place? Did he even need me? Was I just an option to him? That doubt is the key. It's not just fleeting, it lingers. It stays with her, not for a day or even a week, but long enough for her to realize she's lost something irreplaceable. And when she finally faces the full weight of that realization, it changes everything. Because now, she's not just wondering if she made a mistake. She's emotionally invested in the fear that you're gone for good. And that, my friend, is when time has truly worked in your favor. 10. The moment she realizes she lost you forever. This is the final stage, the one that can't be undone, and it doesn't happen all at once. At first, she feels nothing, just the usual distance. Then, as time passes, she starts noticing the silence. She might brush it off at first, but soon it begins to eat away at her. Why hasn't he reached out? Why isn't he chasing me anymore? And that's when the questioning begins. Did I make a mistake? What if he really has moved on? It starts off as curiosity, but then, slowly, she begins to miss you. She starts replaying all the memories, your jokes, your warmth, the way you made her feel secure in a chaotic world. That's when the regret kicks in. She begins to realize something she didn't want to face. You're no longer waiting for her. You've moved on. And that realization hits her like a ton of bricks. She sees you thriving without her, posting photos, doing things with your life. Things she thought she'd always have a place in. Suddenly, she doesn't feel empowered anymore. In fact, she feels powerless. She always assumed that you'd always be an option for her, that whenever she was ready to come back, you'd still be there. But now she's not so sure. And that's when the desperation sets in. She might send a random "hey" text, something casual, trying to provoke a reaction, just to see if she can get your attention. Maybe she starts acting like she cares, even though she was cold before. But here's the catch. It's too late. You're no longer available, and for the first time, she's faced with the real consequences of her actions. You've already moved forward. You're living your life, thriving, and her sudden attempts to reconnect fall flat because you're not waiting around anymore. The man she thought would always be there has disappeared, and in his place is someone who knows his worth. And that, right there, is the moment she truly realizes she lost you forever. 11. Why walking away creates a shift in power. Power in relationships isn't about who cares less or who plays more games. It's about who has control over their emotions and their actions. And here's the hard truth. Most men give away their power without even realizing it. They overthink every little detail. They scrutinize every text message, every pause in response, every sign they can find, hoping for a clue about where they stand. And when a woman pulls away or shows indifference, most men react with desperation, scrambling to fix things, to prove they care, to chase after her. But here's where everything changes when you walk away. The power shifts. When you step back, something unexpected happens. Suddenly, you're the one she can't figure out. Instead of you obsessively analyzing her behavior, she's left to analyze yours. Why hasn't he reached out? Does he not care anymore? Did I overestimate my importance to him? These questions begin to swirl in her mind, and as the silence grows, so does the uncertainty. She starts wondering if maybe, just maybe, you've truly moved on, and that's when the real power shift occurs. It's one thing when she's in control of the dynamic, pulling away and testing your response. But it's something entirely different when she sees that you're not chasing, not waiting, and not reacting. Now, for the first time, she's the one feeling uncertain. And that uncertainty, it triggers something deeply psychological, the fear of being replaced. Once that fear settles in, it starts to unravel her. She begins to feel like she's losing her grip on you, like she might just be fading into the background. That's when her emotional walls begin to crack. She starts wondering if she really has you or if someone else is stepping into her place. And just like that, the dynamic flips. Now, it's her who feels the need to prove her worth. It's her who starts questioning if she's good enough. It's her who now feels vulnerable. And this is the exact moment when you've gained the upper hand, because when she starts chasing, trying to regain your attention, that's when you know the power has completely shifted. 12. How distance makes you more attractive. Here's the truth most men never realize. A woman's desire isn't triggered by constant presence. It's actually sparked by absence. Many men think that by being around all the time, always available, always checking in, they're making her feel secure. They believe that if they stay close and visible, she'll feel more attached. But in reality, that kind of behavior kills attraction. Why? Because when a woman knows you're always there, always at her beck and call, there's no mystery, no curiosity, no excitement. The sense of longing evaporates, and without that, attraction fades. But when you pull away, when she doesn't know where you are, what you're doing, or what you're thinking, that's when her mind starts to fill in the blanks. She wonders if you're out there meeting someone else, if you've moved on, or if you're still interested. And it's that uncertainty that triggers something powerful in her. In that moment, you become more valuable in her eyes. You're no longer just another guy she's used to having around. You've become a challenge again, and women, at their core, are wired to desire what feels just out of reach. When you create distance, when you leave her wondering about you, it stirs that primal need to chase after what feels like a bit of a mystery. It's not about playing games. It's about giving her the space to miss you. The absence allows her to reflect on the good moments, the connection you shared, and the attraction she once felt. And the longer you maintain that space, the more she starts to crave your presence, not out of need, but out of desire. That's when the real attraction starts to build. Because now you're no longer a certainty in her life. You're a challenge, a desire, a person who is emotionally independent and able to stand on his own. And that's when she finds herself wanting you more than ever. 13. The psychological effect of being hard to get. Here's a truth that most men don't realize. Women don't necessarily want a man who's always available, emotionally open, and constantly at her beck and call. In fact, many men have been conditioned to believe a lie, that women value men who are always kind, endlessly patient, and eager to please. But the truth is, women value what they have to work for. They respect the challenge. That's why they're drawn to men who don't make it easy, who don't just hand out their time and attention without a second thought. It's not about playing hard to get for the sake of playing games. It's about something deeper. Respect. When you walk away and don't immediately come running back, you're showing her something powerful. You're demonstrating that you're not desperate for her validation. You're showing her that you have options. You're telling her, without saying a word, that you have self-respect and emotional discipline, and that's something she can't ignore. When a woman sees that, she starts to reevaluate your worth. Now, you're no longer just another guy she used to talk to. You've become a rare find, one who doesn't fall into the typical traps of emotional neediness or the cycle of constant pursuit. And that's exactly when she starts to crave your attention. She starts to realize that she's no longer in control of the dynamic, and that's when the tables turn. It's the psychological effect of scarcity. You're not always there, and because of that, your presence becomes more valuable. She wants what she can't easily have, and in her mind, the man who doesn't give away his time or attention so freely is someone who stands out. Now, she finds herself wondering what you're up to, why you're not as available, and how she can earn your attention again. And that desire, it's something she won't forget. 14. Why women fear losing a man who walks away. Here's a key distinction that separates high-value men from the rest. They understand that a woman's deepest fear isn't rejection. It's the fear of losing a man who is truly valuable. When you walk away, it's not just about making her miss you. It's about forcing her to confront a stark reality. You were always the prize. Women, at their core, aren't afraid of men leaving. They've experienced that before. What they truly fear is when a man leaves and doesn't come back. That's when the floodgates of regret open. I should have treated him better, she thinks. I thought he'd always be there, always waiting for me to come around. And in the silence, that regret grows louder until it becomes an overwhelming thought. What if I never find someone like him again? Once that thought takes root, it starts to change how she sees you. No longer will she see you as the man who was always available, the man she could take for granted. Instead, she begins to view you differently, as the one she never should have let go of. You've become a man of value in her eyes, not because of how you acted when you were around, but because of the absence you've created. The emotional space you've made has now made her realize just how much she took for granted. And that fear of losing you for good, it shifts the dynamic entirely. She starts to see you in a new light, one where she regrets her past actions and where she's determined not to make the same mistake twice. 15. The ultimate power move, moving on. Without her now, let's get to the most powerful truth of all. The ultimate move you can make isn't about making her miss you. It's about moving on without needing her to come back. Because here's the reality. If you're waiting for her to notice how much you care, if you're hoping for her validation, you're still giving her control. But when you truly move on, when you start living your life, improving yourself, and thriving without her, that's when she feels the full weight of her mistake. It's the moment she realizes you're not sitting around, waiting for her. You're not trapped in the past, holding on to something she's already let go of. You're moving forward, and that forward momentum is the strongest signal you can send. The more you focus on becoming your best self, the more you grow, the more powerful you become in her eyes. Because now, she's not the one with the control. You are. And this is what separates high-value men from everyone else. They don't wait for validation. They don't need a woman to realize their worth. They already know it. They don't need her to chase them. They have already moved on and embraced their own lives. They've learned that their value doesn't depend on anyone else's recognition. It's something they carry with them, regardless of what's happening around them. When a woman sees a man who's secure in his own value, that's when she realizes she's lost something irreplaceable. She understands that you're not just another option. You're the one she never thought she'd lose. And that realization, it changes everything. Before you go, if this message resonated with you, I've got something even deeper waiting for you. There's another video right here that dives into the psychology of attraction and why women respond the way they do. Click it now, and I'll see you there.